Hello, Sycamore family. My name is Pem Macias. I am a Sycamore mom and I'm a local artist. You may have seen some of my artwork around town. And as you know, we will be doing this sunflower painting today. For this painting, we're going to be using acrylic paint. And what I love about acrylic paint is you get really bright, bold colors and it blends really well, and you cannot mess up with acrylic paint. That's because if you don't like something about your painting, just let it dry and add another layer on top and it'll cover it right up. So with that in mind, let's get started. Let's begin by talking about the supplies that came in our kit that we'll be using for our paint night. We have 3 brushes. We'll need a paper towel, a cup with water, a canvas, a plate with the following paint colors. You may want to pause right now and add paint in the order you see on this plate: brown, blue, white, yellow, a little dab of red, more blue, and black. Okay, let's begin. We're going to start with our medium-sized brush. I love this brush because when we put it flat, it paints wide lines. When we put it on the side, it paints skinny lines. So we'll be using this brush the most. Let's start with a little bit of blue on our paint brushes. We're going to paint a circle about in the upper middle side. Upper middle side. That's not a thing. And then we're going to paint a teardrop shape on top. That's going to be our first petal. We're going to add those teardrop shapes all the way around our painting. Nice. Now we're going to go in between each petal and we're going to paint a little point or a little upside down V. And these are going to be petals that are behind the petals that we just painted. Looks great. Now we're going to add in our next sideways flower. Over here on this side, we're going to paint a football shape. And then we're going to add our same tear shapes for the petals. And some of the petals are going to overlap, and that's going to look great when we're done. Then let's add, on the inside of our football, we're going to add a couple of little triangles. Those are going to be petals that are going forward. Nice. And then let's add some of our little V's between our petals to be behind the petals. Petals behind the petals. Cool. Looks great. So now let's make a line for our table. And now we have the basic design we'll be working with. So let's clean off our baby brush, clean off our middle brush. When we wash our brush, let's get the extra water off, and then we dab it on our paper towel so it stays kind of dry and clean. Let's use our big brush. Dab it. And let's fill in our background with blue. And just go around the flower design we just made. It's okay if a little bit of the blue gets on the petals because we're going to be going over it with other colors. That is looking great. Okay, so we want to add a little bit of dimension to our background. So let's take just a dab of white and put it on the bottom. Fill in the bottom. Perfect. And then let's take seriously the teeniest little dot of black. Let's add it into the top. Black takes over really fast. So we're just putting a tiny bit of black in the corner. It's just going to kind of make it look like our painting is darker on top than on the bottom. Cool. Looks great. And now let's fill in our table. For our table, let's take a dab of blue and just dab it there. A dab of yellow. When you get your paints out of your plate, take them from the edge of the pile, and that'll help your paints not get too mixed. So once we have blue, yellow, and white, let's just blend it all together. It's going to make like a grayish, greenish, bluish, yellowish. It's going to make this color. And then I'm going to add just a tiny bit more white into the kind of middle area. You can make your table any color you want. If you wanted if you want your table to be any other color, you knock yourself out. Make it whatever color you feel inspired by. Now let's dry our big brush off for now. And let's go back to this medium guy. We're going to fill in the middle of our painting. I have no idea what the middle of a sunflower is called. If you guys know what this part of the sunflower is called, I ask you to please reach out to your amazing PTA and tell them, and they'll educate me. Okay, and now let's do on our side flower, we're going to paint this area. Brown. Nice. Okay, now we are going to mix just the tiniest dab of red into a pile of yellow. What color does this make? I know you guys know because you are Miss Roby's amazing art students. So yes, you're right. Yellow and red makes orange. Let's paint all of our petals orange. You can go right over those blue lines you made earlier because you'll still be able to see them. We just want to flood this whole area with orange. And if you see right here, a little bit of my blue is smudging, that is okay. Because first of all, we're going over it with a lot of other colors. And second of all, when the colors kind of blend together, even if they're not necessarily the color you would think. Like you wouldn't think there'd be blue in a sunflower, but really in nature, the shadows and the varying shades of anything creates all sorts of extra colors. So that blue that I just smudged right there is going to look really cool. This is just your permission to lean in on your mistakes and make them part of your artwork. Then we're going to go over to our other little flower and do the exact same thing. We're going to fill in all of our little petals with our orange color. Okay, that looks funny actually right now. It actually looks a little weird, doesn't it? But every painting has a stage where it looks weird. Then all of a sudden you're going to get to a point where you're like, hey, this doesn't look weird anymore. This looks cool. So just give yourself the space to let your art look a little funny for a little while and trust the process. Okay, so now while we let that dry for just a minute, let's take a dab of white and let's just make some little white bursts in the background. And these they're not circles. Don't make a plain circle. Make like a wibbly wobbly little burst of white. This is kind of like a Vincent van Gogh Starry Night sort of a like highlight. Maybe it's a star or maybe it's a lightning bug, firefly. Maybe it's just like a little dash of magic glowing behind your picture. And if you don't like the lightning bug dots, you don't have to add them. This is your artwork. You create what you are excited about. Okay. Now we'll let that dry for just a minute. Put our baby brush. This is not a baby brush. Let's put our medium brush down and grab our baby brush. Take just a little dab of black and let's make some lines in the back or on the table. They're going to represent the like wood planks that are on our table. Cool, that looks good. Now, let's mix a dab of yellow. I'm going to put a dab of white too. Dab of white, dab of yellow, and a dab of blue together to make a green. See, that's looking really blue, so I'll add another dab of yellow and get a nice bright green. And let's add some leaves. Now for the leaf, we're going to put our brush flat on our page and then kind of lift it up at the end. So it starts flat and then it gets skinny. That's half of our leaf. And there's the other half of our leaf. That looks great. Let's add a couple more leaves. You can add it wherever you want. And I'm going to add another leaf right in here. Okay, and now we're going to take our same green and we're going to paint a big wide line coming out of the flowers and onto our table. Nice. Okay, now let's dry our brush off. Or sorry, clean our brush off and then dry it off. Now let's take a little dab of yellow and we're going to go over our leaves with yellow to start brightening them up. But don't paint the very base where I said leaf, this is a petal. Let's go over our petals. And we're not going to paint the very bottom tip of the petal where the petal meets the middle. And that's because that's where we want to keep that deep orange color. Perfect. Okay, now let's clean our brush off, and let's take a dab of blue. We're going to add some shadows to our stems. So just go along the side of our stem with blue, both of them. And then on our leaf, let's kind of go, just add a little bit of dimension to our leaf with the blue. Let's just go, like, kind of go around the edge with it, maybe the middle. Then the same with this guy. This looks great. Okay, now let's clean our brush off again. And we're going to mix some white and yellow together to get a nice light colored yellow. Let's go over our petals again, but once again, we're just going to make like just little dashes with our little lines, random lines with the light yellow to give our petals some dimension. There's no wrong amount of light yellow to add. Just go in there and add a few dashes. This is where our painting's really going to start taking shape. You might notice, oh wow, they don't look like big orange blobs anymore. Now we see beautiful three-dimensional petals. That looks so nice. And let's do the same with our side flower. Beautiful. When we do our little middle petals that we created, remember the top of this petal is actually the part that's on the inside. Okay, now we're going to take some more of our light yellow we have, and we are going to add more details into our flower leaves and stems. Just sort of go over the edges of our stems with the light yellow. And add some of our extra lights into it. Now let's go over our little star shapes with light yellow also. Okay, that looks so cool. Wash our brush off and let's go back to our baby brush. We're going to put a little bit of black on our baby brush. Now we're going to be making a little dot shape with our black. So just go around the edge of the middle of our flower with a little dot, dot, dot. Dot, dot, dot. You can go even onto the petal a little bit, and that's going to help blend the petal and the middle part of our sunflower together. Just little dabs Then let's do the same with this the little part of this side flower that's showing. And in the middle of our flower, we're going to make another just little circle of dabs so that we should see a brown donut in the middle of our flower. Clean our brush off, dab it on your paper towel. And let's go back to some of the green we made earlier. And let's do some green dabs along the donut part of our flower. Clean your brush. Let's do some light yellow dabs along the middle part of our flower. And then you can add a few little light yellow dabs around the edge of around kind of in the black part too. Nice. Now it's starting to look real nice like. Clean our brush. Let's put some yellow, or let's add some white. And we're going to go along our petals with just the lightest dab of white. And this just around the edges, and that's going to give it, really make it pop. Adding white at the end of a painting is probably my favorite part of the process because it almost adds magic to your painting. Do you want to hear a joke? How many Darth Vaders does it take to change a light bulb? None. They prefer the dark side. Ha! I know that's a corny joke. My fourth grader, in Miss Mindendorf's class, told me that one. Okay, so now let's add our jar. So with our same baby brush, let's take some white and draw a roundish sort of shape underneath your flowers. And then we're going to make the bottom part of it, kind of shape it up like that. And now here's a trick to make your jar really look 3D. Take your medium brush, add white paint, and we're going to add a little glow in the bottom corner. That's where the light is hitting it. And then we're going to add a line on one part, one side, add a wide line going down, and then we're going to add another wide line on the front, and that shows where the light is hitting your jar and glowing. Boop. So now the only other thing I would add, and only if you want to, is in the middle of our little star lightning bug doodads, I'm just going to add some of the bold yellow just to make it really glow. And and then we're done. That is a beautiful painting you created. Okay guys, thanks for joining me in this sunflower painting. I would really love to see how your artwork turned out. So if you could send a picture to the PTA, they'll make sure to pass it on to me. Thank you. Have a great night.